Hello, and welcome to another edition of Modern Chat. This is an online discussion that seeks to add depth and insight to our coverage of the Valley's most important stories and people. My name is Dania Hernandez, and I'm the education reporter here at the Monitor. And today we're interviewing Dr. Jose Gonzalez. He's the interim superintendent at McAllen Independent School District. He was appointed about 3 months ago by the Board of Trustees after the departure of the former superintendent, James Ponce. Dr. Gonzalez has worked for the district for 18 years. He started his career there as a teacher at the Leon Middle School and moved to become assistant principal at Lincoln Middle School and McAllen High School, right? He later became principal at the Instruction and Guidance Center and at Cathy Middle School. His most recent position before being appointed by the board was as Associate Superintendent for Instructional Leadership, and he worked directly with principals at all campuses. Is this correct?
That is correct.
So welcome.
Thank you.
How are you doing, Dr. Gonzalez?
Doing very well.
I'm glad. So viewers submitted questions, and we have some questions of our own. And first, right after your appointment, you had to make some pretty controversial decisions. So we're starting with the IB program, right? Can you talk to us about the change? They had to cut down the full-scale IB program. Can you talk to us about this change and what's the new direction for the schools that don't have the program anymore?
Well, fortunately, we still have IB as an option in McAllen ISD, and that's one of the things we were looking for, is to create different choices where IB wasn't the only choice, but we know it is a great choice. So at this point, we still have our flagship Lamar Academy IB Diploma Year program, which does a phenomenal job. We have the middle year program, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade at the Leon Middle School, which we're excited about. And we're also offering the primary year program, the elementary program at Pettis, at Alvarez, and at Roosevelt. So we're excited about that. Then what we did is we worked as a team and working with content coordinators and directors and principals and even getting teachers' voice in to make sure that we came up with a program that would create a well-rounded environment for students. So in conjunction with IB, we're also bringing STEAM. And STEAM is science, technology, engineering, art, and math.
We have different questions from our reader. If we want to go to more of the STEAM plus aspect, one of our readers wanted to know what warrants the emphasis on teaching emotional intelligence.
What warrants the emotional intelligence component is there's very strong research on the fact that students need to have great emotional intelligence, that students need to be self-aware of their strengths and weaknesses. There's a lot of research on the fact that being able to self-regulate your emotions and be able to communicate is a key skill to have. Motivation, empathy, social skills, those components have, there's research behind when students can do that better, then the likelihood of personal and professional success is higher. So in looking at the theory and the research behind it, we felt, let's bring that to the table. And it's much like, if you look at the IB has an IB learner profile. So in emotional intelligence, we talk about self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. But on the IB side, there's a learner profile where we talk about being an inquirer, being knowledgeable, being a thinker, being a communicator, principled, open-minded, caring, being reflective, being balanced, being a risk taker. So you can see where the IB is really bringing in that emotional intelligence side also. So that's really the thinking behind the EQ side of what we're bringing to the table.
So when developing this new program, were you able to use what your teachers and principals had already learned from the IB program to incorporate it?
It served as a good benchmark. It served as a good guide. But this is something that we created based on what we believe would provide our students with a well-rounded education. So because of the fact that we were IB, and because of the fact that we were able to learn what worked and what didn't work, we believe that this customized program is going to be something that's beneficial and can be adjusted along the way. But I do want to emphasize the fact that we're very proud to offer IB within McAllen, and we think that it's a wonderful program. I don't want the readers or the viewers to think that we're saying one's better than the other. We're just saying that we want to provide choice, and this is the way we're going to do it.
Another one of our readers wanted to know, how did you identify the school selected to participate in the IB vertical team?
There were a number of ways in which we did it. One was talking to the leadership and really getting with the principals and getting a feel for the schools that we selected. So we had meetings with those individual principals, and they felt that that it would benefit their campuses. The other is that we wanted to offer a north site, we wanted to offer a central site, and we wanted to offer a site on the south side of the city. So in working with the leadership and in working with the demographics and the way the city's set up, we wanted to create that environment where it came across the city, because if students in a non-IB school want to go to an IB school, then they're going to have that option. So we wanted to have different points within the city.
Did you have some, he also wants to know, did you have some of the principals volunteer for this feeder?
All the principals that I spoke with, it was just more of a collaborative, open-ended discussion on what they believed once we identified the schools. So they all said, we'd love to lead it, and they're excited about moving forward with whether it's the elementary program, the PYP, the primary year program, or the middle year program at De Leon, and then our flagship high school. That's never been a question at Lamar. That's the model that's been running the longest, and that we're very proud of.
Was there any community input in this decision where to place the IB schools?
We looked at, from an internal perspective, it was more internal than external on where to place it.
Okay. Why was that decision made?
It was just something that we needed to do where, again, we wanted a north side, a central side, and a southern side. It was nothing more than we wanted to create a convenient environment where you didn't have to travel all the way north or all the way south. So that was more of the idea.
Right. This person also wants to know, you guys have talked about increasing I think it's a middle years program, MYP, is that what it stands for?
Program, yes.
And the diploma or degree program, DP program?
The diploma year program.
At Lamar Academy, increasing enrollment by about 470 students, I believe he meant. Does central office have plans to meet the instructional needs for this, to increase the capacity?
Well, currently we have increased our diploma year program. And the diploma year program, see, the middle year program technically runs 6th, 7th, 8th, and also 9th and 10th. That it goes all the way into Lamar. The diploma year program is our 11th and 12th grade program. So we do have plans to expand both, and as we grow the diploma year program at Lamar, we would provide them with the resources and materials necessary based on formulas and student-to-teacher ratios and things of that sort. I know that we're pulling in some portables to create more space right now at Lamar.
Right.
And we're working to do what we can to create that environment, because we believe in the diploma year program and the IB, and we do want to grow it.
He also wanted to know, there was talk, or the school board claimed that McAllen was losing some of the students and faculty because of the IB framework. Was there any data to support this before the climate survey, or what did you guys look at?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if students left, or I mean, it would just be my opinion, and I really don't want to give my opinion on that. I'm not sure if teachers left or students left because of IB, or whether they come or go because of IB. We're just really trying to create an environment where we create a world-class education, regardless of whether it's STEAM Plus, or IB, or Achieve Early College High School, or options, or our AP program, or dual enrollment, or concurrent enrollment. We just really want to create that world-class environment in every area. So I don't really focus on singling out one program and then trying to determine, is that why people are leaving? We're just trying to be the best at everything to get people to come.
And speaking of that survey, the results of the internal survey said that it showed discontent pretty much with the program, and it said that more than 60% of participants stated that they did not want the program in their campus. How receptive have they been to this change?
With STEAM Plus?
Yes.
They've been very receptive. I think part of it was because it was a responsible rollout. I think that we took the time to meet with content coordinators, with directors, and we scaled it up that way. Then we met with principals and we got their feedback, and then principals are rolling that out to teachers and getting their feedback. So at this point, there hasn't been any resistance at all to the program. And part of it is because we really own the program. There's no outside pressure. We adjust how we see fit. We know that the main gear with STEAM Plus, the main gear is that we're going to deliver the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, the TEKS. Because the state of Texas assessment of academic readiness, the STAR test, is based on that state curriculum. So we know that. What we're trying to do is we're trying to round out and just not teach the TEKS. We're trying to create an environment where we enrich it. And I think that the teachers, some of the feedback that I got is, well, we're doing a lot of that already. We're just kind of identifying it and standardizing it where we know what we're calling it on the 5 domains. It's self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Not that we weren't teaching that already, it's just gonna be more standardized across the STEAM Plus campuses, much like in the IB campuses, it's standardized with the IB learner profile. So
Right.
that's really, so it's, I guess that's a long way of saying there hasn't been much pushback on STEAM Plus.
Okay, good. One of our readers was worried about special education. The person said McAllen ISD offers very exciting summer programs for middle school students, some of them even with 7 weeks of instruction. But the person said there's very few education opportunities for special education students. So when compared to this other programs, is there any plan to grow this?
Well, currently we do have plans and we do have programs that target students with special needs.
Mm-hmm.
If each student with a special need has an IEP, an individual education plan. So based on the IEP, if they're in the regular education setting, then they can go into any program that is for any student, for the general population. But if we have students with more severe disabilities that require more intensive type intervention, then we do have programs in reading and math. We're trying to prevent what we call the summer slide so that we don't lose academic value over the summer. So we do have opportunities that special education students or students with special needs can benefit from. And if the reader would reach out to central office, we'd be more than glad to point out what these programs are so that they could take advantage of it.
Nice. And going back to the survey, there was some problems there with morale, compensation, some issues that I'm sure you guys noticed. How does the district plan to address these issues?
Part of it is we're working with a 5-year strategic plan right now, and we're reaching out to the community. We're reaching out to business leaders. We're reaching out to the McAllen Economic Development Corporation, for example, the chamber, the city of McAllen, business leaders, parents, students, teachers, principals, and we're getting everybody's voice so that we can get an idea of what the mission and the vision for our district is and what our goals are. And not only what our goals are, but what our metrics are to meet those goals, what are key action steps we're going to take, and then metrics to see if we're accomplishing those goals. So not only are we getting everybody's voice, but we're also setting a direction for the district and also setting up key actions and metrics because we want to make sure that what we put in place is sustainable over time and that we can measure success. So that's part of, I guess, building morale is giving people a voice and going out. I mean, I've been out and I've talked to all the entities that I just spoke of. This morning I met with the McAllen Rotary North and answered a lot of questions that they had. I've met with business leaders, I've met with teachers and principals, and so really hearing the people is part of giving people a voice and building morale that way.
And what you're talking about is also, you recently had some summits, right?
Yes.
Where you invited parents and just community members. Can you talk to us about what have you gotten out of this interaction so far?
Just voice of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever people have a voice and they understand that their voice matters, then they start to give you more ideas. And from ideas comes the ability to move our district in the right direction, but collectively. So it's been summits that are open to the community where anybody can come in, parents, business leaders, students, and all members, and give us their opinion. And then there's also been focus groups of common groups like parents, principals, teachers, students. And then there's been surveys that have gone out. And then we're gonna set up a strategic design team that's of key individuals from throughout the community, and then we'll start to take all that information that we've gathered, all that data, and really start to solidify our 5-year strategic plan as we work with our board of trustees, because the board will eventually look at all of that and set the direction. And that's really what the board does, and we have a tremendous school board that has the best interests of our students in mind. So as they set the direction, as we set the direction collectively, and the board decides ultimately what the vision and the direction of the district would be, then the administration would execute that. And it's that team approach that's gonna allow us to take our district to the next level.
What are the following steps in that community involvement initiative?
The
What's
the next step is gonna be our strategic design team, and we're already identifying those members. It'll be approximately 45, maybe 50 members, and we'll have 2 full days of taking all that data and establishing that strategic plan, or at least solidifying it, so that we can decide what we want to ultimately do.
Is that coming up soon?
Yes.
Yeah, when is
This month,
this
it'll
month?
be coming up.
Okay.
If not this month, early next month.
And can you tell us a little bit about, what is the overall kind of hope? What do you hope to get out of the initiative overall? You talked about a new kind of direction.
Overall, we want to put ourselves in a position to ensure that our students are college and career ready and ready to compete on a global platform. We want our students to be able to go anywhere in the world and compete, but not only compete, but compete at a very high level. So that's where we believe that the IB and STEAM Plus, along with all the other programs that we offer, will do just that. And also, we want to be competitive because we know that we're in a friendly competition with surrounding districts. Because now, it's different than when we were in school. I mean, now you have charter systems, you have other ISDs, and especially in the Valley, it's just one road that separates one district from another. So we're trying to be as competitive as possible to attract as many students as possible and to keep our students in our district. But at the end of the day, we want all students to be successful. So it's striking that balance. We
Right.
want all districts to be successful because that's kids being successful. And in the Valley, we're a tight-knit group of leaders and a tight-knit group of educators. So it's finding the balance between how do we create this friendly competition and thrive in it, but also support our neighbors. That's kind of the ultimate goal.
Right. One of our readers wanted to know, recently the middle school counselor role was repurposed for middle school testing coordinator and interventionist. It says, I would like to know if McAllen would change the entry-level requirements for this particular.
At this point, we're not looking at entry-level requirements. We're considering looking at repurposing one counselor at the middle school to focus on assessment and to focus on being an interventionist. That's where we're at right now. So currently, we have 3 counselors at every middle school, and we're moving to 2 counselors and 1 testing coordinator and interventionist. So we haven't looked at requirements coming in other than we're taking and repurposing a counselor.
Okay. And moving on to another very well-known issue with the district. Last year, McAllen ISD went out for a bond of nearly $300 million. So as it was advertised, they were advertised as this was necessary to fix a lot of the facilities maintenance and operation needs. Where do you stand as far as like this facilities maintenance projects? Where does the district stand?
Well, right now, we're doing the best that we can with what we have. I mean, obviously in the school system, when you look at school finance, it's a complicated formula, and we have limited resources. So we're being as resourceful as we can with the funds that we can, and we're fixing things within our means. At this point, we've fixed some of the HVAC, some of the air conditioning systems, cooling towers, for example, at Mac High. We have summer plans to replace a roof at Mickey Rowe High School in De Leon. We're replacing, we're putting in turf, artificial turf. We've done that at Rowe. We're going to do that at Memorial. We've fixed up some of our science labs, improved some of our furniture, but we're doing it within our means with funds that we have internally. So that's what we're doing. Our facilities maintenance and operation department is doing a tremendous job. I know that our executive director, Mr. Ruben Trevino, and his team is excellent at being resourceful and excellent at doing what we need to do within our means. So it's a difficult task, but I'm impressed with where we are right now with our resources.
And you're talking about being able to do some of these things within your means. Where does the district stand financially? Do you foresee having to, or being able to tackle most of the most pressing needs, or do you expect to having to go out for another bond anytime soon?
Financially, we're healthy. June 30th, we'll know the final number, but we're approximating, we're looking at approximately $65 million in fund balance, which is healthy. But you have to remember that of that $65 million that we have in fund balance, that $39 million of it is set aside for operating expenditures that TEA recommends you have 2 months of operating expenditures. It's kind of like you and I have a savings account. So if something goes wrong in our households, that we
Right.
have that to lean on. So a lot of people would think, well, you have 65 million, why don't you just fix everything that you need to fix? And the fact of the matter is because all that 65 million is targeted in some form or fashion. For instance, I mentioned the 39 million that's set aside for 2 months of operating expenditures, which leaves you with 26 million. But of that 26 million, you also have funds there that are earmarked for inventory and for particular items and for state and federal programs. And so that dwindles that 26 million down. And then the remainder is earmarked for assigned dollars. So in the end, you really have very limited amount of
Right.
money. It's not the full 65 million to do what you need to do. So although we're very healthy, we're also very conservative. And the school board's done a tremendous job in being conservative with their dollars and in making sure that we're responsible with the taxpayers' dollars and that we're good stewards of that money. So big picture, 65 million, but when you really look at it, it's not all utilized for anything that we want.
And so far, do you foresee having to go out for another bond for some of these needs?
At this point, we have no plans to do anything that would raise tax dollars for our local taxpayers.
So no bond.
That's
At
not
this
what
point.
not at this point, there's no plans.
Okay. And also moving to the search for superintendent, you're currently filling that role as interim, but we know as of a few days ago that now you're being able to apply for this position. So have you sent your application yet?
No,
No?
I haven't. It hasn't opened up yet, but when it does, I will definitely put my application in.
Right. And as we talked about this before, your contract previously stated that you weren't able to apply for the permanent position. What do you think changed since? In their mind?
I mean, what changed for me? Is that your question? What changed? I mean, what changed for me? I can give you from a personal standpoint, and I can give you from a professional standpoint. And I'll start with a personal side. On the personal side, when we first had that discussion as with regard to applying or not applying, things were a little bit different for me in my home. See, my wife is a teacher, but what we've decided from that point to today is she's no longer teaching. So now I have 3 small children. I have a 4-year-old boy, I have a 3-year-old girl, and I have a little boy that's going to be 2 on June 9th. So I have young children. So that was one of the challenges. But now that she's staying home and she's able to manage the household, that's taken a lot of pressure off of the family. So that's on the personal side. So that's a beautiful thing. On the professional side, for the last 3 months, I've been leading the district and working hand in hand with all the stakeholders within the system. And I've got a lot of positive feedback from the community. And I've received a lot of positive feedback from McAllen ISD. And I've seen a lot of energy and a lot of momentum. And because of that, I felt very confident, and I feel very confident that I can compete for this position at a very high level. And I know that there's going to be highly qualified individuals interested in the position, and I have the utmost respect for them, and I welcome the competition, but nonetheless, I'm ready to compete at a high level.
And we talked about this, your experience. You've been there for 18 years.
Right.
How confident do you feel that this experience is going to serve you well in your candidacy?
I feel very confident. I think that everybody on the planet is the sum of their experiences. I mean, you're the sum of your experiences, I'm the sum of my experiences, and that's just the way the world revolves. So my experience in being a teacher, my experience in being an assistant principal, a principal, an associate superintendent, an adjunct professor, an independent contractor, a consultant, makes me very well-rounded. My educational experience, I have the highest education that you can attain in my field, which is a Doctor of Education degree. I have my superintendent certification, and I'm very confident that I can compete with anybody for this position. And I welcome the highest caliber of competitor, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And what I've learned in this life is there's only 2 things you can control. It's your attitude and your effort. So I choose to have a positive attitude and give maximum effort, and I also choose not to try to control the things that I can't control. So I wake up every day and I work hard, and I respect people, and I work with people. And at the end of the day, God has a plan. So however things are going to play out, they're going to play out. And I can't try to force things. Whether you're in athletics or whether you're in business, when you try to force something, it becomes harder to accomplish. So I'm just letting it come natural, and in the end, what happens, happens, and I'm blessed. As they say, I'm too blessed to be stressed.
Oh, good. So whether it's you or another superintendent, what do you hope, where do you hope the leadership goes? I mean, or?
I hope that whether it's me or someone else, that we take this district to the next level, because that's what the children of McAllen deserve. That's what the parents of McAllen deserve. That's what the city of McAllen deserves, because we know that the educational system is the backbone of our community. So whether it's me or someone else, I just hope that we do what's the very best for this district, because I love McAllen ISD. I've been here for a long time, and I want to see it prosper, regardless of how it plays out in the end.
Good. And we just got another question from one of our readers. They say, on average, how much instruction does McAllen ISD students lose to benchmarking over academic career?
I know that benchmarking, as we benchmark, it's part of our progress monitoring. It's part of getting ready for the state assessment. So we're trying to see, because I mentioned earlier, we're delivering our TEKS, the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. Those are things that kids need to know. So as we're moving through the year, we benchmark to see, are they actually learning what we're teaching them, so that we can know how close are we to being prepared for the state assessment.
Right.
As far as how much instructional time do we lose, I wouldn't have a minute or an hour number at this point to give you. I would be guessing, and I don't want to guess. I do want to say that it's part of our instructional program, and it's part of what we feel is necessary. So although we're benchmarking, we believe that it's still quality time to utilize for, I guess, from a business standpoint, quality control. How well are you teaching, and how prepared are your students to compete or to perform on the state assessment? But I wouldn't know how many hours we lose.
Okay.
I could figure it out, but I would need some time for that.
Oh, we have time. Just kidding. I think those are all the questions we have so far. And any other message that you would want to give our readers or constituents?
Well, I want to thank the monitor for the
no problem.
opportunity. I want to thank all the people of McAllen for everything that they do for our city, because I've mentioned before, I grew up in a small town. I grew up in a town, Hebronville is about 2 hours northwest of McAllen, and it's a very small town. And one of the things that I learned coming to McAllen is that although it's a bigger city with over 100,000 people, it still has that small town feel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I love McAllen. That's why I love McAllen ISD, is there's great people. So I want to thank the people of McAllen, and I want to challenge everybody to work with the McAllen ISD, so that we can develop that 5-year strategic plan, and so that we can continue moving forward, because our students are counting on the adults in the city to create the best learning environment possible. So it's more of a just thank you to McAllen for being who you are, and thank you to all the staff and students and parents of McAllen ISD for working hard, and then thank you to the monitor for having me.
No, thank you. And on that note, I would like to conclude this edition of the Monitor Chat by thanking our viewers, especially those who submitted questions, and our guest, Dr. Jose Gonzalez. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, until next time.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.